Dart forced to run to his left and then throws it deep downfield on target. What a pass to Jordan Watkins.
Today, we're talking about one of the most intriguing prospects in this 2025 draft class at the quarterback position. You've seen his name being thrown around a lot. He's been picking up steam lately, and who knows, man, in the future, he could be one of the best quarterbacks taken in this draft. His name is Jaxson Dart. Now, if you don't know who Jaxson Dart is, quarterback out of Ole Miss, spent the last 3 seasons of his college career at Ole Miss and played in one of the toughest divisions in all of college football, if not the toughest, and that is the SEC Conference. You've seen Jaxson Dart and Ole Miss go up against teams like Georgia, Florida, and the other SEC teams, and the SEC is talented and is packed with a lot of NFL talent that will be, hearing their name called in the 2025 draft class. They've been, continuously one of the toughest conferences. And I think that's important to say when you look at what Jaxson Dart has done over his college career and what he's looking to do. Now, why is this name picking up steam? I mean, me coming from a Giants fan, I've heard people telling me about Jaxson Dart since the middle of the season. Some people were telling me he's going to be the best quarterback in this class. The Giants need to take him. And he doesn't really have, the number one, approach. He's not looked at as better than Shedeur or Cam Ward. But I think there's a chance that he could be one of the top quarterbacks in this class. He has a lot of traits that you would want in a quarterback, and specifically for the Giants. If you give him a couple of games to develop, at least the first year, you can see Jaxson Dart potentially be one of the top quarterbacks in this class. Now, let's talk about what he did last year at Ole Miss. Yet last year, he did put up 4,279 yards, 32 total touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 180 passing rating. Definitely his best year in college as of yet. And obviously, you want him to have the best year before he heads into the draft. And overall, what you seen what he did at Ole Miss, man, Ole Miss was one of the ranked teams that were trying to make it, in the playoffs. They lost a couple games, but overall, that high-flying offense was definitely doing his part, and Jaxson Dart was the guy that was leading him through that. The biggest, notoriety coming out is that last bowl game that he did play in. And man, it was probably one of his best performances altogether. And especially when it's the last part that you see him at Ole Miss, that's something you want to hinge on. Jaxson Dart threw for over 400 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Definitely what you want to see out of your college quarterback, especially in his last performance. And overall, when you think about the other guys that kind of been, mentioned above Jaxson Dart, the Carson Becks of the world, the Quinn Ewers, Jaxson Dart has surpassed them. You see guys like Mel Kiper go ahead and put out that Jaxson Dart is the quarterback 3 in this draft class. And at one point, there was probably a couple more quarterbacks that were ahead of him. Now, why is Jaxson Dart behind guys like Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders? Cam Ward was almost a Heisman candidate at one point, so was Shedeur. They had the top guys on the outside. They were one of the premier, college programs. And overall, I think when you see Cam Ward, his arm talent is different. When you see Shedeur, his pinpoint accuracy is different. Jaxson Dart has to put those things together, but I think, some of those things are definitely coachable. When you look at what he was able to do at Ole Miss, that Ole Miss offense is very, quarterback friendly, right? Where, a couple of NFL scouts might not look at the offense and say, Jaxson Dart was running a really hybrid scheme. He was doing a lot of first read looks. He was able to, chuck the ball down the field. And I think that's one of his best attributes is his deep ball accuracy and his deep ball big plays. Jaxson Dart is always looking to maximize the play. And if you got a guy that's open at a 5-yard out, but you got one-on-one coverage to the guy, taking a vertical down the field, Jaxson Dart is taking that chance. He is. You can look at the film. You can look at his play style. He's definitely a big-time player. And hey, he completed one of the most, highest completion percentage with the deep ball and the big-time throws this past year in the NCAA. Jaxson Dart completed around 40% of his deep balls last year, and that's something you want to see as a Giants fan, and it's a breath of fresh air. Jaxson Dart taking what the defense is not only just giving him, but taking a chance and giving his guy a chance. The Giants haven't had a quarterback, and as we know, Daniel Jones was the quarterback for these past couple years. Daniel Jones was gun shy. Jaxson Dart is not. And sometimes that could be his weakness. He's always going to take, the deep shot. And that's what it was showing his last year at Ole Miss. He was taking the deep shots, and sometimes that could lead to potentially an interception. In the NFL, a lot of those balls that weren't catched probably turn into interceptions. And then instead of taking the guy that's open underneath, you're going to give the chance and potentially, miss it down on that. Jaxson Dart, that's one of his weaknesses, but it could also be worked on, in my opinion. That offense at Ole Miss was not asking him to do too much, and it wasn't asking him to read through all of his progressions. He didn't have, 4 different options that he was going through on certain plays. Most of the time, he kind of knew where he was going with the ball, and when he knew where he was going with the ball, that's where the ball went. So a lot of people are looking at that and saying Jaxson Dart might not be, like a Shador, like a Cam Ward mentally with his IQ when it comes to football. But I think it just goes to show where he was coming from. Ole Miss has always been like that with Lane Kiffin, and overall, I think Jaxson Dart still can have that ability, and you can continue to work that in his game. It's going to take some more reps, though, and he's definitely not as ready as a Shador Sanders or a Cam Ward, but I think he has some other traits that you might want to see, those quarterbacks having, where his footwork is pretty much there. When you see him making the throws off script, running outside of the pocket, but also staying in the pocket and delivering on time. I like the mechanics that I've seen out of Jaxson Dart, and there's not really too much I'm worried about with his delivery of the football and, whether he's able to make some throws. I think he can make all the throws that you need him to make. I'm being honest. I don't think he has a weak arm. I don't think he has, some things that you look at other quarterbacks and say, yeah, they're going to need some work to get that out of his game. I think a lot of it is mental, and he's going to be able to be coached up on those things. And, hey, specifically for the Giants' sake, hey, Brian Daboll, we brought you here for a reason. Let's see if you can develop a quarterback like Jaxson Dart, and I think he has some traits that you want to see in your NFL quarterback. Now, why is he ahead of a Jalen Milroe? When you look at Jalen Milroe's game, he's very inaccurate. Jaxson Dart is not as inaccurate as a Jalen Milroe. There's just more, reps that he needs to have to be able to continuously, target guys down the field, but also take what the defense is giving you. Go ahead and take the 5-yard out. Go ahead and get the first down. Go ahead and pass underneath. Jaxson Dart, as we know, wants to make those big throws and have those big plays. But overall, in the NFL, they're going to take away a lot of those shots. But it's not, I just like the fact that he's able to, have confidence in his arm. And sometimes it might be too careless, but sometimes, hey, this quarterback might be able to make some of those throws. So when you think about a Jaxson Dart specifically in this draft class, and when you think about what the Giants are looking for, Jaxson Dart right now, he could be possibly taken at the end of the first round. And I know it sounds crazy for some. Some people are like, no, definitely wait until the second round, the third round. Let's look at what it is. The quarterback position is always overvalued compared to other positions. If a team feels like they want a quarterback and those first two guys are off the board, like a Giants could potentially be in that situation. I'm not saying take Jaxson Dart at 3, but you might want to trade up into the first round and potentially grab him. And one of the big pieces on why you want to do that is because you get the flexibility of having that extra year. That extra year for the first round quarterback with that extension for the 5th year, you could potentially still have that for Jaxson Dart. And hey, if you let him sit down for a year, learn behind whatever bridge quarterback you want to sign, whether it be, Justin Fields, whether it be a Russell Wilson or a Kirk Cousins, you can have Jaxson Dart kind of sit behind him for a bit, learn up, tune up. And then, hey, you got an extra year if you want to send that extension out to him to see and have a quarterback that's not going to be breaking the bank for you. I think if it's a Giants take, and if it's any team that needs a quarterback, I'm taking a flyer on Jaxson Dart. I really am. I think when you see, once again, the big playability and also, the type of leader he is, I'm going to be honest, he's also a mobile quarterback, and that's something that you need in this game. You see what's going on in the playoffs right now. All these quarterbacks are mobile. All these quarterbacks can move around. Jaxson Dart is able to do that as well. And when you think about a Shador Sanders or a Cam Ward, Jaxson Dart has that upside over those two guys. I think he's a lot more mobile than, Shador Sanders and Cam Ward, and that has to be talked about because now that's what's leading the NFL. The Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens of the world, the Jaden Daniels. You're going to see a lot more mobile quarterbacks making a living in the NFL. That's the modern game, and Jaxson Dart has that ability over some other quarterbacks that are in this class. So if you're asking me, Jaxson Dart has all the upside to be able to be one of the better quarterbacks in this draft class, and people want to talk about the floor right now, but the ceiling, I think it's just as high compared to other quarterbacks. He has the tools. He has the size. He can be that quarterback for your franchise. So I want you guys to let me know down in the comments, man. Do you believe Jaxson Dart could be QB1 or your QB1 heading into next year? And if you're a Giants fan, definitely let me know. Do you want Jaxson Dart on this team? If you're asking me, I definitely want to scoop him up at the later end of the first round or even the second round. Number 3 overall pick, if Shador and Cam Ward are off the board, give me Jaxson Dart. And I'm walking away. I'm still happy. So y'all let me know how y'all feel about it down in the comments, man. Also subscribe if you're new to the channel. I got more draft content coming through. And Jaxson Dart, go ahead and let him know.
Dart forced to run to his left and then throws it deep downfield on target. What a pass to Jordan Watkins.